Elon Musk had no plans to go to church that Sunday. He wasn't usually there, but his 6-year-old son, X, had asked him over breakfast several times. "Dad, can we go to church today?" X asked, pulling his bright eyes from his breakfast bowl. The new interest made Elon wonder. Church? Why would you want to go there? X didn't look at his dad while he played with his spoon. "My friend at school says that's where people go when they need help with big feelings." Elon stopped talking. Since they split up, he and X hadn't talked much. He was busy with work, and when they got together, they generally played video games or did easy coding projects. They rarely talked about how they felt. Elon sat down across from his son and asked, "What big feelings are you having, buddy?" X just shrugged and didn't look up. That simple phrase hit Elon hard. Just stuff about you and Mom and me. He was working so hard that he didn't notice his son was having trouble. Everyone had a hard time with the split, but he didn't know how much it had hurt X. Elon said, "Okay, after a while, let's go to church." Elon was sitting in a back bench of a small church in Austin for 2 hours, still not feeling good. Even though he didn't know much about religion, X seemed set on going to this church. It wasn't a fancy building, it was just a plain one with wooden benches and stained glass windows that made the worn rugs look pretty. When they got there, the service had already begun. As they took a seat, an older man with kind eyes looked at them and smiled. X sat still next to his dad, his eyes fixed on the altar in front of them. Elon couldn't pay attention to what the preacher was saying because his mind kept going to work issues, upcoming due dates, and how strange it felt to be in a place so far removed from his normal life. He looked at his watch many times. X muttered, "Dad," and pulled on his arm. "You're supposed to listen." Elon muttered back, "I am listening," but they both knew he wasn't. "No, you're thinking about work," X said in a low voice. "I can tell because your eyebrows get all scrunchy." In spite of himself, Elon smiled. The child paid attention, just like his mother did. Elon saw something change in X as the service went on. The kid looked calmer and more at ease than he had in months. He seemed calmer than Elon had seen him since they got divorced. X stood up to sing with the other people, even though he didn't know the words. He moved a little to the music and watched the other people sing with attention. Even though Elon felt out of place, he couldn't take his eyes off his son and stayed sitting. What was going on here? What was X getting here that Elon couldn't give him at home? When the music stopped, the minister told the congregation about a special part of the service. Anyone could now speak out and say what was on their mind. He said, "Sometimes the heaviest burdens become lighter when we speak them out loud." When X looked up at Elon, his eyes became firm with purpose. He said, "I want to go up there." Elon said, "What? No, X, you don't have to." But X had already slid past him and into the lane. In shock, Elon watched as his 6-year-old son walked firmly toward the front of the church. His small body could just barely be seen above the wooden platform. As X got to the front, the church went silent. The minister had to bring him a step stool to help him stand up, because he was so little. Elon's heart was beating fast. What did his son do? What did he mean to say? X looked out at the crowd, not seeming scared by the large number of unknown faces. Even though he was small, his voice was strong and clear, and it could be heard all through the church. "My name is X Musk," he said, getting used to saying his strange name. "I'm 6 years old, and I want to talk about my dad." Elon was frozen. He could feel people looking at him with interest, but he couldn't take his eyes off of his brave son who was standing at the front of the church. "Every day, my dad is very busy," X said. "He works a lot because he thinks he has to save the world. That's what he always says when he can't play with me or when he misses my school things." Elon felt a bit guilty. He had really missed X's school play last month because of an important meeting. But X said, "I don't need him to save the world." His voice got softer. "All I want is for him to be in my life." Those easy words hit Elon like a punch. As X talked, he could feel his throat getting tighter. "When my parents split up, my dad told me that some things don't work out no matter how hard people try. But I think he stopped trying with me." There were whispers in the crowd. The minister stood close and was ready to help if necessary, but he didn't. He let X move on. X said, "It was my birthday last week. Dad sent me a really cool robot that can do flips and talk, but I gave it back to the delivery man." This was new to Elon. He thought X loved the pricey, custom-built robot he had ordered months before. "I gave it back because I didn't want a robot," X said, holding on to the stage with his small hands. "I just wanted to have breakfast with my dad." Elon felt the first tear come down his face. He didn't show up to X's birthday meal. Instead, he had planned a video call, but his phone's power died during the call. "My friend at school said that church is where you talk to God when you need help," X said. "So I asked Dad to bring me here today because I need help. I need help understanding why my dad can build rockets and cars, but can't build time for me." The church was quiet now. Elon could feel his heart beating as X's words came over him. X's voice wavered a little for the first time. He said, "My teacher says that adults forget what's important because they're trying so hard to do important things. That's why I came here, to show my dad that I'm important too." Elon started to cry. As he heard his son's pure, honest words, tears ran easily down his face. He didn't realize how much X missed him, or how badly the boy felt being ignored. X went on, "I don't want to be famous or special. It doesn't matter to me if I go to Mars or have the coolest toys. All I want is for my dad to look at me like I'm the coolest thing in the world, like one of his projects." X paused and took a deep breath. He ended with, "That's all I wanted to say." The preacher walked up to X and put a soft hand on his shoulder. "Thank you for listening. Thank you for your brave words, young man," said he. "I think you've reminded all of us about what truly matters." Everyone in the church looked at X as he walked back down the hallway to his place. When he got to Elon, he stopped and looked up at his surprised, tear-stained father. "Dad, are you crying?" Elon asked, but he couldn't answer. He rarely let himself feel these feelings, but they were making his throat feel too tight. X climbed back up on the pew next to him and looked worried. "Dad?" X whispered as he put a small hand on his dad's wet cheek. Elon shook his head and tried to find his voice. "I didn't mean to make you sad," he finally got out. "You didn't make me sad, X. You showed me something I hadn't seen before." The service went on around them, but Elon didn't pay much attention. His thoughts kept going back to what X said. They couldn't hide the simple truth in them. Though he was sometimes there in person, his mind was always somewhere else, thinking about the next job or goal. X was leaning against his dad, who looked happy that he had finally calmed down. Elon held the boy close by putting his arm around his small shoulders. X said in a low voice, "I'm sorry I gave back the robot." "I know it cost a lot," she said. "Don't say sorry," Elon said in a low voice. "You made the right choice by giving it back. It wasn't what you needed." The preacher was talking again. He said something about how important it is to be present over having presents and to value time over technology. Elon knew what the coincidence meant. It felt like the whole service was made just for him, to make sure he understood what his son had said. While everyone else stood for the last song, Elon stayed sad and thought about what had happened. X stood next to him and sang with him. Because he didn't know the words, he hummed. As people left after the service, many of them looked at Elon and his son with interest as they went by. Some people politely nodded, but no one came up to them or asked for pictures. In this place, he wasn't a well-known inventor or businessman. He was just a dad with his kid. As the church got empty, the preacher made his way over to them. He put out his hand to Elon and said, "Thank you for joining us today. Your son is really cool." "Yes," Elon said, shaking the man's hand. "Yes, he is." "I just haven't been paying enough attention to see it," Elon said. The preacher gave a smile. "It's never too late to start seeing clearly," he stated. "Children have a wonderful way of bringing things into focus." Elon and X sat alone in the back pew after the preacher said goodbye to other worshippers. The only sound in the church at this point was the soft sound of the cleaner starting to clean up at the far end. Elon asked, "Are you ready to go home?" X looked at him. "It's quiet here, so could we stay a little longer?" Elon asked, shocked but willing to do what they asked. For a few minutes they sat still, and the light from the etched glass windows made patterns on their laps. "X," Elon finally said as he turned to look at his kid. "X, I heard everything you said today. And you're right, I haven't been the father you deserve." He looked at him with those clear, smart eyes that sometimes seem too old for a 6-year-old. "Don't worry, Dad, you have important things to do." Yvonne strong-armed them. "No, nothing is more important than you. I've been wrong about that, and I'm going to fix it." "Really?" X asked, his face lit up with hope. "Really?" Elon said. "Starting today?" Elon felt something change inside him as they walked out of the church together. Suddenly, the goals and dreams that had driven him for decades seemed different. Maybe not less important, but different in terms of how important they were. He could see for the first time how his focus on the future had made the present less important to him. It was quiet on the way home. X sat in the back seat and looked out the window at the scenery. It looked like Elon was seeing his son for the first time every time he looked in the rearview mirror. X had Elon's dark hair and serious eyes, but his mother gave him all of his facial expressions, like the small furrow between his brows when he was thinking, and the pressed-together look on his face when he was worried. Elon was surprised at how little he had paid attention to these things before. Elon finally spoke up and asked, "What are you thinking about?" X turned away from the window. "Are you still sad?" asked the other person. "No, I'm not," Elon replied honestly. "I am thinking about it. It takes time to understand strong emotions." X gave a serious nod. "That's what my school counselor says too," Elon said with a raised eyebrow. "You have a counselor at school?" "Every Tuesday during lunch," X told me. "After the divorce, my mom set it up because she thought it would help me talk about how I feel." This was something else Elon didn't know. He had been so focused on making sure X had the best schooling, the best chances, and the best future that he had forgotten about what the boy needed right now. "What does Elon think about talking to the counselor? Does it help?" X just shrugged. "Sometimes, but I'd rather talk to you," they said. That one simple sentence hung in the air between them. The grip on the driving wheel got tighter for Elon. He said, "I'd like that too. How about we start now? Tell me something, anything that you've been wanting to talk about." X thought for a while. "This summer, I don't want to go to space camp." Elon was shocked by this. For X to get into the special program, he had to pull strings. He thought his son would love it as much as he did when he was that age. Elon asked, "Why not?" X replied, "Because it lasts for 3 weeks and I'd miss too much time with you and Mom. I only get to see each of you half the time already because of the divorce." Elon slowly nodded, understanding. What would you rather do instead? Regular camp is only during the day, X said with hope. That way I could still see you at night. Elon said, yes, we can do that. What else? X seemed like he couldn't stop talking once he started. A mean kid at school made fun of his name. He also talked about the science project he was working on and how much he missed having both of his parents at home. He also talked about his fear that his father loved his work more than him. Elon paid attention, maybe for the very first time. Elon knew more about his son in 30 minutes than he had in the previous 12 months by the time they pulled into his driveway. Elon made up his mind as he parked the car. He turned to face his son and said, X, I want to make you a promise. From now on, you come before everything else, including work. I may fail sometimes because it's hard to break old habits, but I promise I'll keep trying. X looked at him with doubt. Even on Tuesdays? You always have important meetings on Tuesdays. Even on Tuesdays, Elon told me. I'll move the meetings, she said. X still didn't seem to agree. What about when something goes wrong at work and everyone needs you to fix it? I'll find someone else to fix it, Elon replied. There will be no time for that. You're more important. X carefully looked at his dad's face, looking for signs that he wasn't telling the truth. His last question was, can we shake on it? He put out his small hand. The way Elon shook his son's hand was serious. It's a deal. Elon kept his word to X over the next few weeks. He changed his plans, gave other people more tasks to do, and put his son first. It wasn't easy to make the switch. Old habits fought back, and Elon's work never got easier. But he was determined. X saw every effort. Every time Elon came over for dinner, every story before bed, and every weekend when they built model rockets instead of going over reports. In the boy's mind, they all made sense. X put his hand on his dad's shoulder one night as they watched the sun go down from the porch. Dad? He called out. Yes, buddy? Remember when I talked in church and made you cry? Elon looked happy. I remember, she said. I was afraid you'd be mad at me. Elon put his arm around his son and said, I wasn't mad. I was just really proud of you. Son, I was thankful, Elon said in a low voice. X said with some thought, sometimes we need someone to tell us the truth, even if it's hard to hear. I'm glad you heard me. So am I, Elon replied in a soft voice. It was the most important thing anyone's ever told me. As the sky got darker, the first stars started to show up above them.